people who live along the river, the Stalo people, there is an association between sturgeon and the spirits of the dead.
In Indian culture, in Stalo culture, it's you humble yourself before the mystery, you honor that mystery, and you realize that it's the work of the Creator.
Late August, early evening, on the Fraser River near Mission. Terry Glavin, Larry Commodore, and Marv Rosenau toss a line out for sturgeon, knowing the creature that takes it could be 100 years old and weigh 1,000 pounds.
Something almost impossible to believe.
Glavin is a writer. Commodore's people have fished this river for 10,000 years.
Salmon and sturgeon, my bones are made out of salmon and sturgeon.
Rosenau is a fish biologist with the BC government. What links the three is wonder and worry about sturgeon.
These are sort of fish from the dinosaurs. Sturgeon-like animals first showed up in the lower Jurassic period.
It is so strong, it is such a big creature, it is so resilient. If this creature can't survive what we are doing to the world around us, then what does that say?
It says we may have pushed sturgeon too far, beginning with the great and brief sturgeon fishery of 100 years ago.
Fraser River sturgeon really got hammered around the turn of the century.
In the late 1890s, there were 1.1 million pounds of sturgeon that were taken out of this river in a single year. And almost immediately afterwards, the fishery crashed.
My great-great-great-grandfather, Captain John of Sawali, over 100 years ago, he wrote a letter of protest to the fisheries and to the government, to the non-native government of the day, after observing non-native commercial fishermen coming in and laying drag lines across up and down the river here for sturgeon, and they were just slaughtering them.
Some giants remained, surprise trophies for succeeding generations of fishermen. The rules didn't call for catch and release until 1994, and even that would never have happened without a modern sturgeon mystery that began 3 summers ago.
Fisheries, Marv Rosenau speaking.
September 1993. Marv Rosenau gets an anxious phone call. Something strange and huge has washed up on the riverbank.
It was gargantuan, real monster.
A few days later, another.
Well, it was astounding because here's an animal that's probably over 100 years old.
Then another, and another, until a dozen sturgeon weighing 1,000 pounds and more each lay dead on the shore.
Like, I was quite blown away by the fact that we had that many fish of that size die.
During the late summer of 1994, the wash-ups began again. Only this time, there are 24 deaths. Rosenau's small department is flooded with work and charged with alarm.
We don't have a good idea how many of those large fish are left. And it was a little bit frightening because you don't know if that's 1% of the population, 5%, 10%, or 90%.
The most obvious suspect in the sturgeon deaths is pollution, the industrial poisons we've dumped into this river for decades. But autopsies have all but ruled that out. We don't know what happened. All we do know is that 36 huge, apparently healthy sturgeon died and made headlines day after day, 2 summers in a row. And because of that, a very private fish became a very public concern. That's why, for the summer of 1995, a team of researchers hunts the river for sturgeon, looking for answers too long ignored.
Oh, what a gorgeous animal, eh?
Did you get him on the rod or did you get him on the long line? Rod. On the rod, okay.
All of science is detective work, and what we're trying to do here is some rudimentary primary science. And from that perspective, we're all detectives out here trying to patch together the Sturgeon Mystery.
The goal is to learn more about a creature of the deep and the dark, like just how many of the huge 100-year-old breeders are left.
156.0 centimeters total length.
This 20-kilogram specimen is too small and too young to spawn.
This fish would probably be in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 years old.
What kind of bait were you using?
Salmon.
Salmon.
Next day, better luck, a bigger fish.
It's probably a mature fish, but it doesn't appear to be a spawner. So we'll probably just let this one go.
First, though, this sturgeon needs an ID tag, so they'll know if they catch it again.
Fit tag, 7 Foxtrot, 7 Delta.
It's painstaking, slow work, but at least no one worries about getting bitten. Sturgeon don't have teeth.
As soon as these barbels contact the food item, the mouth automatically protracts and it forms a vacuum in the buccal cavity and sucks in any food item.
Sturgeon have a reputation as scavengers. Everything from rocks to dead cats have been found in their stomachs. But we're learning they can be hunters, too.
We think that the very large fish probably chase down live salmon. It was really an exciting discovery to actually observe that happening. They'll swim by a salmon, they'll turn sort of sideways, suck back a live salmon.
Okay, just let him.
Instead of Jaws, you can call the movie Gums.
Yeah.
Late in the day, an even bigger sturgeon. One that's finally big enough to warrant the minor surgery that will reveal the sex.
Usually they remain very docile through the whole procedure. Then we'll examine the interior and try and determine the state of maturity of the fish by looking at its gonads through this instrument called an otoscope. And what we have here is a very large male.
That's disappointing news for the researchers. They need to find and follow large females.
We really want to know where these fish spawn. We have absolutely no idea where they spawn, when they spawn. If it looks like it's a female and she's going to spawn within the next year or 18 months, then we apply a radio tag, and what we're going to do is follow these fish to their spawning location.
2, 1, 1 total.
It's a critical first step. If we can protect those breeding areas, we buy time to learn more about these mysterious creatures and perhaps ensure the sturgeon a future. If that happens, it will be because of research like this, made possible by 3 dozen giant sturgeon who forced themselves on the public conscience.
What the die-off and the subsequent publicity has done is it has brought the species into the forefront of the public's mind. The general public, who probably doesn't know a sturgeon from a snake, all of a sudden realizes what a sturgeon is.
So it got moved to the top of the list.
Got moved to the top of the list, yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
If they catch a sturgeon, they'll have to let it go.
Okay, ready?
That's okay. The goal is simply to connect with the creature
That's the one I seen a picture
Yeah,
of
that's
him
a sturgeon.
sitting on one
That's a
like
sturgeon.
horse.
and to understand just enough of the sturgeon mystery to keep it around.
We've lost wolf here. We had wolf, we had grizzly, we had elk, and we lost them in this part of the land here. But I have hope that we're able to, that there are enough of us who honor and respect what life on Earth here to work together to turn things around.
If we lose this species, what we have lost is something that has contributed to the human experience in this part of the world for the past 10,000 years, economically, culturally, spiritually. We are all diminished as people, as a society and as a species, to have unintentionally destroyed another species of much greater antiquity than our own.
For CBC News, I'm Jim McQuarrie near Mission, BC.